share.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you shooting?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So actually, let's start fresh so that everybody can see that. So we've got our circuit that we're making, and that's the sensor, and that's going to be connected at the top to 5 volts, and then on this end to analog 0, and then there's going to be a regular old resistor that goes to ground. Okay? So that's the sensor, this is that lead, this is that one, okay? And then we got our resistor, and this is a 10K ohm resistor, 10 kilo ohm. It's brown, black, and orange, and that one's going to go to ground. So there's our 2 parts, and then I've got some wire here. You're going to need to get some wire. And you just want to take some strippers and get the insulation off of there on the ends of it where you're going to solder with it. I don't know if we'll need all 3, but I'm just going to strip them anyway. And this stuff looks like it might be a little bit thick for the inputs on the Arduino. So I might actually try to clip away some of the extra wire here. So, I think this is not lead free. Okay, so our sensor is going to have one that goes to 5 volts. So I'm going to start off by, actually I should probably trim this back since it's going to be in that tight little spacing there. Cut off the excess there. Get some solder ready to go here. Okay. Now I'm going to bring it in here, hold it against it. That looks pretty alright. Okay, then we've got this wire that goes off to analog in. Ooh. Okay, so one of these ends is going to go to the Arduino, and that one, it's hard to try to plug something like that into an Arduino, so I'm going to just cover that in solder. So it makes it sturdier. So that's a little better for plugging into the board. Then on the other end, I've got it shorter, and I do the same thing. And again, because this is made of plastic and it's crimped right onto that thing, when this thing gets hot, it could melt it. So I wanted to do all that soaking of the solder into the wire and then just bring it down and heat it up briefly and not hold the soldering iron there for too long. And then you need to just take a look at the joint and see if it's any good. This one's not as good as the other. I think I need to redo it. So I'm just going to take a dab of fresh solder, get it on the iron there, and try putting that right on there.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more
Right
like this. I think
Okay.
it's wider, the other one. I mean, that
That
way.
looks way better. Okay. Okay, so now we also have to go from that point to ground. We could go from here, but if we did that, then we'd have to have ground right here next to the sensor, or we'd have to have another wire that goes back to the computer. But since this point here is connected to this end of this wire, it means that we could just stick the resistor coming off of here, which is going to be over near the Arduino anyway. And then I can add a little bit of wire.
What about analog zero?
Right, exactly. So that's going to be plugged into analog 0. Then we need to have a little piece of wire that comes off the edge of it and goes through the resistor to ground. So we could either go resistor first and then wire, or wire then resistor. I'm thinking I probably want to do wire and then resistor. So I'm going to take this little scrap here. So I wrapped it around there so that hopefully it'll kind of stay where we want it. Okay, that looks alright to me. And let's get some solder on this end, because that's going to have to plug in. Alright, and then, oh, actually no, it doesn't need to plug in, it has to have the resistor on it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's trim this resistor back a little bit.
What's inside the resistor?
This resistor has a little film of carbon.
Um,
So it's a ceramic housing, and then inside of it there's a little layer of carbon, and depending on the dimensions and chemical properties of that carbon, it'll have a different amount of resistance. Okay, so let's check our diagram here against this thing. Alright, so this end can go to 5 volts, which means actually we need to
solder.
put some on there. I just want to make sure it's pointy enough that it can actually fit, because once you put solder on there, it doesn't bend around, and the solder will fill out the dimensions of whatever you stick it on. Somebody want to grab an Arduino? Oh, great. So, let's make sure that these things fit. Okay, yeah, we're in good shape. Alright, so we got 5 volts, then we've got the wire that goes to analog 0. And then from analog 0 through the 10K, and then this will be on ground right here. So ground, analog 0, 5 volts, and then we should get a value off of that. So let's plug it in here. Well, let's see if it'll plug in. 5 volts. Ground. And analog 0. Okay. And I wanted to make sure those solder joints were good because I'm bending it all over the place and we don't want them to snap off or anything. Okay, so there it is. And you should be able to press on this thing and get some values on it.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's go test it out and see if it works.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn off the soldering.